I hope our video resolution is higher than 8-bit. Today, we're take a look at pixel tactics. Hi everyone, welcome to episode 6 of Dude, Where's My Cards, where we primarily evaluate strategy card games from both a game designer's and a regular gamer's perspective. As always, my name is Brendan, and I am joined with my co-host Jordan.
Guys,
In today's episode, we are going to talk about Pixel Tactics by Level 99 Games, which is... So what kind of card game would you consider this?
a head-to-head
Head-to-head
tactical
card game?
Yeah.
Alright.
Jumping into it on my side of things, like Brendan said, Pixel Tactics is a game made by Level 99 as part of their Pixel series. They have new same universe. Pixel Tactics was developed and released in 2012. It's a head-to-head game of tactical combat for 2 players. Each player has an individual deck of 25 cards, which they then draft a leader from it. The leader's abilities alter vastly, and strategy and playability of every other card in the deck, making the game playable in 25 different ways. In the game, players take turns placing cards and attacking. Each card can activate in various different ways, depending on where it's played on the field. Taking offensive capabilities in the front row, or support powers in the back. Cards can also be played as orders, powerful single-time effects that can turn the tide of a battle. Play continues back and forth until one of the player's leaders is defeated. A typical game is the best of 3 or 5 rounds. There are 7 core sets out there currently, with 3 exclusive Mega Man themed Pixel Tactics as well, all of which are combinable and interchangeable within each other. But yeah, so playing identical decks in this. That's a quick overview of what Pixel Tactics is. So again, I'm going to be taking the lead here on the design aspect of the game. And Brendan's going to be trying to look at it from the first-time gamer aspect. So right off the hop for me as a designer, we're looking at a game that involves not just melee combat, but there's ranged abilities, there's spell abilities, card placement is extremely important in this game. As developers ourselves, both Brendan and myself have been told that games that we've designed always remind players of this game, so it was a high priority for us to try it out ourselves and take a look from it.
Yes, it was.
We don't necessarily agree with what was said about similarities, but there's this grid system, which is something we've played around with before as well, is definitely something that I see where it comes from, where people get that feel of
the
front
visual,
lines.
you could say it's similar, but gameplay, it's not even close.
So, as a designer perspective, right off the hop, as people who have designed a game that involved a 3x3 grid, I definitely can see where value as a designer comes from this game, where you could get some ideas about combat in melee and ranged, which not a lot of card games do or do well. We'll talk about whether we thought this one did it or did it not well. But there are aspects of this game from a design perspective you got to take. The deluxe edition, which is the one that we are playing today, involves the core rules from multiple different formats as well. We have like a format for an adventure, which as a designer is really interesting to have a combat tactical card game have an adventure mode that can be played over weeks. So that's a very unique take. Design wise, really have to think about how every single card in this 25 card deck is ideally 5 cards in one, which is also interesting. Each card has 5 things that they do. We always talk about cards not being just throwaways or having no value in your deck because you have to use it for resource. There's no resource system in this game. It's just you have to do 2 actions in a turn, and playing a unit to the field is an action. So from a design perspective, that's interesting too. Non-resource based, melee, range. There's lots of things in this game that were unique that really hasn't been done too many times for me. So that's kind of interesting for me to look at. Design-wise, Brendan, what did you kind of, as your quick overview, kind of pull right away from it that you thought was to learn from, good or bad?
I'm not totally sure that I'm on board with how they've done their attacking and ranged combat system. I'm sure we'll talk about that more later. I was expecting a lot more out of this game, to be completely honest.
Because it was compared to one of our games.
Completely, because it was compared to one of our games. And so I thought this would be at least close to the level of our game. And it's, as we were talking about before, it's a game that on initial table value you'd think it's similar, but after playing it, it's not.
Okay, before we go too deep into that, I'll jump off designer and let's look at it as a first-time game player, a newbie or a seasoned veteran of gameplay, but somebody who's playing this game for the first time, looking at it through the eyes of only a gamer. What do you right away see as a gamer for yourself?
That this game does not provide a lot of value for an average gamer, in my personal opinion, at least in the game modes we've played. There's lots of game modes that you have talked about that we haven't done yet. But
yeah, we're kind of looking at it as just the core
just
original
the core
set.
Game
if you were to
itself.
go by the first set game mode of Pixel Tactics Set 1, which is just the 2 decks, which is just the head-to-head combat, which is what the core of the game is.
A lot going on, a lot you have to manage, a lot you have to remember, and doing it doesn't really feel rewarding all the time.
As a first-time gamer myself, originally when I saw this game, I like that chibi pixel. I like that. It was interesting. It's cool. It caught my attention enough to be like, yeah, I think I could play this game. Had a buddy of mine, Trevor Ans, explain this game to me because he's like, I know you like this style of gameplay. Here's this game. Give me a rough explanation of it. And in his broad explanation of you have a commander unit that you choose from one of your cards, and you have peons, you surround it, and the combat's based on that. That's my type of game. Yeah, okay, sounds good. Let's play it. I didn't get a chance to play with it. Ended up getting my own copy. We played it now. So initially, described to me everything as a new player. It was very interesting. My first actual game of this was a little bit of a letdown, to be honest, when I first played this game.
Yep.
The second time playing it, I enjoyed it significantly more.
You had a little bit more grasp of
and
what's
I'll
going
explain
on.
kind of, well, we go into detail of that, but my very first impression to playing this game, if I would have left it as just that first time, things would have been very different. So this is why we like to play these games a few times. And this is just our two most recent. We played it a few other times, but like right now, looking at it, these two games, which are usually the first most important, are your first two. Whether or not you're going to continue to play it, whether when we break it down and play test, it's different. But from a gameplay perspective, second game rewarded me a little bit more enjoyment than the first. If I would have left it at that first, I probably wouldn't have played it
And
again.
from an average gamer's perspective of value, I just find the design and the layout of the cards leave a lot.
Yeah, from a gamer's perspective,
like
the
I just look
cards
at it
are
and
underwhelming.
I just see so much dense info that I just like every one of these cards look like it could be a cheat sheet telling you how to play a game because there's so much text on it. So I look at it and I go, "Oh, great! I have to read everything." And
the only saving grace for me to this game is in the deluxe edition. At least you get all the HD, most of the HD versions of the cards, which is the commander, in a little bit more of a full art pixelation. There we go. So on the left there on the screen is the standard card, and then on the right would be the commander or the your leader unit only if you happen to have that card. So we'll touch a bit of that on as you go, but that's the first initial impressions of the game. So guys, we jump into our rubric, which we kind of talk about all the time. We have the three main categories totaling 50 points. Then we determine whether the game is cash or trash. First category up there is impression, and within there we have theme, rules, design and art, and complexity, all of which are worth 5 points each. Complexity being what we expected from the game, not whether the game was complex or not complex. It's whether it was too difficult for what we expected or we expected more from it. So a higher score means it's right on par with what we're expecting. Lower is bad, obviously. So jumping into theme, Brendan, what do you feel?
This theme does nothing for me. It's pixelated characters. The characters mean nothing. They're super generic. Like, I can't even call this fantasy. It's a 2.
Okay. I'm a little less forgiving because to me this theme is more appealing, especially when described what this game was and like getting the box. It's interesting. So the pixel-based units throw me back to a nostalgic RPG style game, and to me this is a RPG esque game played in a board. So right away, the theme to me, I was on board. So
And I never really played true RPG in the pixel era of gaming.
okay. And that
So
we
I
always
don't have
talk
that
about how we have
nostalgia
different
factor.
backgrounds, which is really good because for me this is
And
nostalgic.
I do have to throw out, if this was Mega Man, I'd probably be a 3, possibly a 4. Just because Mega Man is a lot more nostalgic to me.
Too.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a 4. Not quite a 5. It's not that like, oh my god, this is amazing.
It's kind of weird. I look at this, and the vibe that I get is Maple Story. I don't know if you know what Maple Story is.
No.
Huge, massively multiplayer online.
It's MMO, so it's definitely not my cup of tea.
Like, massive.
Okay.
I'm thinking back to the last time I played it was grade 10, so 2008. And
This game came out in 2012.
Maple
so.
Story 2 came out a while ago and they started playing it, but like this game had millions of players, huge Asian following, like it is a cult classic. Like if you're talking about MMOs, it's right there with RuneScape, like in terms of popularity. The fact that you haven't heard of it is kind of weird.
So off track, when you say Maple right away, the first thing that comes into mind is Bofuri, I Take No Damage, the anime, where the main character is Maple, and then MMO. That's the only thing that comes to mind.
Nope, definitely not.
Anyway, so jumping right into rules, I got a little bit more time to really look into the rules and really dive into them. For me, the rules set at a 4. It might have been more closer to a 3, just because the overwhelmingness of the amount of rules that there are.
Mm-hmm.
If it is not said multiple times on the box, in the rulebook, page 1, it right away gives you a QR code and says, scan this to watch a video tutorial and skip overall reading. It says that multiple times through on the box when you buy it. There's a QR code, and in the rulebook it says, jump to our video tutorial, we'll explain it to you. And that explanation of the game is amazing. So the rules themselves seem overwhelming. They're actually pretty well written, but the fact that right away they offer a video and they say that like this will teach you everything you need to read the book gives it a good rating. I love companion-based instructions.
There's
for everyone.
nothing wrong with that. I mean, I put it as a 3 just because I was very indifferent on all of it. I didn't watch the video companions, so mine was going off of your instruction and the rulebook that you showed me. The rulebook itself was very unimpressive. I think doing that in a pixelated format, while it fit theme-wise, it just made reading a little bit more difficult. I thought there was a lot of text. It was all very clumped together. It wasn't something appealing to look at and easy to learn from. And the rules themselves for the game, yeah, they're fairly straightforward. There's also the reference cards that comes with the game, and you get told, here's a reference card, you get to do 2 of these a turn. It's pretty easy to figure out from there.
Yeah. The only thing I'll note is the reference cards don't actually show every action available, which I wasn't too fond of.
Really? Oh, well, great. I didn't look that deep into them.
Yeah, it only shows the main actions. There's probably another 5 actions on top of that.
Yeah, so I just went 3 right in the middle just because it was not terrible, but it also didn't impress me to any degree.
I would have sat in the 3, but the video pushed it for me because I love when games include that extra step for people who don't want to read a lengthy.
Yeah. Or for people that look at the rulebook and say, holy crap, this is a big block of text. What do I have to
That's
dissect
actually when I first picked
it?
this game up, and I, not having somebody teach it to me,
Flip through the
teach it
book.
on myself.
Holy
I pulled the book
crap.
out. I was all excited, and I pulled the book out, and I just did a quick flip, and I'm like, that's too overwhelming for me to do right now.
Yeah.
And I had to bench it for.
And how
a
long
week.
was the video?
The video was 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So like that saved it. So
Yeah.
anyways, design and art.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a lot going on in these cards, and I think they did it to the best potential that they could have for what they were trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
I like the full art versions of the pixel units on the box, on the HD cards.
And what happens if you did not have that card, though?
This score would be lower, but
Yeah.
I'm basing on what we have. Yes, if I didn't have these full art units that kind of like make that a distinguishable commander to me, the art and design would be less. But for me, my impression right now, it's a 3. I do think they were going for a lot, and they accomplished it. It's not pretty, but it's functionable.
And they get away with it because they call it pixel. It's not supposed to be pretty.
Yeah.
But I'm not giving that much of a pass. I give them a 2.
Yeah.
Like, even looking at the battlefield itself, anyone who knows how to use paint can do something of this quality and slap a picture on
For
top.
me, though, it's nostalgic. I like that. I like the 8-bit. I like the 16 8-bit style.
I'm not even saying like the pictures themselves. I mean like it's a green border, it's a blue border. Like it's very uninspired. It is not well spaced out. Like it just looks like it's cheap.
Yeah. I guess going into the design, when we were talking about the field and the reference point, Vanguard, flank, rear being the 3 stages of where things are.
Yeah.
Vanguard, okay, very simple for me to think that that's your tanks, your frontline units. But most games have always taught me that flank is rear, flank is behind somebody. You're flanking someone, is my mindset.
Really, and to me, flanks always
From the
the people
side.
on the sides.
Yeah. And maybe flank for me is just Warhammer 40k teaching. When you flank, you're always coming from. But to me, I guess now that I speak it out loud, you point out that flank is usually
it's the
from
flanks,
the side.
sides, and you're talking.
So
from
it's from the side.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But for me, right away, I had difficulties taking flank as being rear, and that's just something I overcame eventually. But yeah, it makes sense the more we talk about it. Anyways, design and art complexity level of this game. It's a 3 for me, and I know you're probably going to be lower, but I'm putting it at a 3 because yes, there is a lot of text and there's a lot of things that every card can do. Once that card's in play, it is pretty straightforward on what that card does. And there's 1 attack, 1 HP. It doesn't reset, doesn't heal. It's constant. So for me, I think the complexity is... I was expecting a little bit simpler of a game, to be honest. And it was a lot to start into. So it's a 3.
My complexity is also a 3.
Oh, would be lower.
No, it's a 3 because for how simple the game actually is to play once you get into it, it doesn't make it feel like it's simple because there's so much going on.
Yeah, once we played a full round, it was like, back and forth, but the start was very
and even
daunting.
then, playing it, like, I don't know, I didn't feel that sense of satisfaction from playing a game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that has nothing to do with complexity. I'm just thinking, based on the value of looking at everything that's going on the board, it was just... It always seemed like there was more going on than there actually was, which gives me a greater perceived value of complexity.
Okay. Yeah, we're pretty much on par for that then. Okay, so we'll jump into game categories, which is gameplay and depth. Gameplay being out of 10, depth being out of 5. So this will probably be the biggest variation, I think. Gameplay for me was 7.
Okay.
I actually enjoyed this game quite a bit more, like I said, on our second playthrough today, compared to our first, when we first busted it out for my first time playing against another player. Not just theory crafting it, but playing it. Second time around, I had a lot more fun. There was more happening. There was more things that I could see and things going on. Then I was like, oh, okay, I enjoyed this. The trap triggers are fun. You're getting some counterplay. So I actually enjoyed the gameplay quite a bit here the second time. So it's a 7 for me. Probably not on the same level with you.
Yeah, no, I'd put this as a 4.
Yeah.
And I felt like this was a generous 4.
Okay.
I don't know, it didn't feel like a good game to me. And I haven't played it enough to give it its fair share, so that's why I didn't drop it lower than a 4. A 4 was as high as I could go. Because I didn't enjoy really any aspect of it. I am forced to play cards to one location, but then I have the potential of not doing anything with those cards for 3 more rounds until it gets back to them. That to me, it just seems like a weird design choice that you could do something in the game but not do anything with it. And that to me just created that disjointed gameplay feeling.
And I kind of like the forethought, the fact that I'm playing this unit not to use it now, but to use it in a few turns, and whether mine first or second order.
That's the big thing, though, is that there's a flip-flop. So if you have some good cards or you don't have some good cards, then sometimes you're sacrificing good cards to be in your Vanguard to take a blow for you, which means you don't have that card for later. Mm-hmm. And I get that's part of the strategy, I don't know, I probably just had higher expectations for this game, so after playing it, I just felt like the gameplay just fell flat for me.
For you. Yeah. And that's fair. I definitely had high expectations for this game. I think it fell exactly where I was expecting after a couple gameplays, though. Mm-hmm. But it's a 7 for me.
My big thing also is this game looks like it should be simple, and both games we played were over half an hour, and our last one was over an hour.
Yeah.
that to me feels like that's too long for what this game should be.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be played best of 5 or 3, right?
Which absolutely blows my mind. 'Cause if we did 5 games like that in a best of 5, and they're all over an hour, we sit here playing this one game for 5 hours, and it's like, I don't even know if I want to play a second game of this, let alone sit here for 4 more rounds to see who wins a best of 5.
That being said, our first game probably was, like you said, 30 minutes, and sometimes it could be faster.
Yeah.
I guess it depends. It really depends. And the first game was us learning through stuff, so 15 minutes, but yet, this last game with us a more in-depth grasp. And that could just be the way we played, the type of commanders
Could
we
be,
played.
and it could be there's much more optimal strategies that could be done to make the gameplay better that we haven't really discovered because we haven't played it much.
But for me, for my strategy that I played and the gameplay experience I had, it's a 7.
Mm-hmm.
Depth, game category-wise, I have it at a 4.
Okay.
I have it at a 4 because every card is one of 5 things. And I feel like that adds a lot of depth to it, even though there's only 25 different deck to start at the base, right?
And to me, that's more of a complexity thing that I view as a depth thing.
Oh yeah, I see the depth as being like, how many different options can I do?
But how many options on those cards, when you look at them, do you go, I don't think I'd ever use you there? So maybe 2 out of the 5 options are actually, or 3 out of the 5 possibly, are actually actions you'd want to do. And even then, sometimes they overlap so that the same ability happens basically on every single level in a slightly different twist. My depth is a 3. I'm not that far off from you.
Okay.
And mine came from that fact and the fact that you have a 25 card deck. That doesn't really change. You're not rebuilding your own decks. I mean, I don't know what other formats are like. There could be pre-builds. There could be an adventure mode.
If you're looking at that core set, like you said, which is just the basic pack where you get 2 decks in that pack, and those are the 2 decks you play with.
And I'm going off of just this gameplay that we've done of a straight head-to-head battle of the original standard card rules.
Yeah, that's fair. And like when I look at it too, like in the grand scheme of this game, there is draft mode, there is deck building, there's purchase modes, but you don't get those rules, I don't believe, unless you purchase the deluxe version of the game, which is a factor that I guess you have to take into consideration when you're looking at cost satisfaction, which we'll get to eventually. But we're looking at, I purchased the deluxe, I purchased the one with the most amount of rules, the most variations, the most cards right out of the box that we could get. So looking at it, there's lots of potential, but if I'm looking at just the core head-to-head, it would be a little bit lower, but because of the potential, I think I bump it up 1 more to 4.
That's fair.
So the post-play category, we go into replayability and cost satisfaction. How replayable is this game to you? Well, I enjoyed it, so it's going to be it's going to match the gameplay for me right now. Usually these don't. They vary for me often, but the gameplay and replayability is 7 because I'm still interested enough to play this game again. To see if it gets more interesting to me or less. Like right now I'm teetering at about the same point. Yeah. Where I feel like there's still quite a bit of variation to this game that I can enjoy, and especially if I start looking into the more formats that are available, I think I could enjoy it more. At the same time, though, I'm not 100% sure that if I play this more, I'll enjoy it more. But for me, I'm interested to play it again because I want to see where it goes.
Yeah, and like before I give my score, that's the other thing also, is you talk about I'd be interested in playing it again. But I look at this game and I go, there are several games that I would rather play again than to pull this one out. So I give it a 2. I almost give it a 1 because I could honestly never play this game again, and I would be totally happy about it.
You'd be playing Soulbound.
Pulling it out makes me go, oh, okay, I gotta brace myself for what could be a slugfest of an hour, where after 15 minutes I'm like, oh my god, is it gonna end?
And again, like you said, you've kind of iterated it throughout the entire episode here that the theme wasn't interesting to you off the start, so right away you're not pulled in.
Yeah, like the reason why I was pulled into this game is because the comparison to our own,
and that's really where it ended for you.
Yeah,
there was no other pull for you. So,
and once I started, it was just like, oh, this is.
And the game didn't have enough in it to change that mind start right off, and that's where, as a designer,
I don't know. I probably did have a bar for that this game couldn't reach, and when it falls flat, it's going to be reflected in my mind. But...
And this is where it comes to, I'll just swing back a little bit on the designer perspective, how important sometimes, artwork and theme are to a game. Like we always talk about, generic fantasy always gets a default 4. There's a reason it gets a default 4.
Yeah.
it is already interesting you into that game without having to tell you anything about it.
And I can even talk back to our last episode where we talked about Hero Realms.
Yeah.
That's a generic fantasy game. But after playing that once, I was like, oh, okay, let me look online to see if there's an online app. I'll play this by myself a couple times. This is a fun game. This is enjoyable.
You mean our next episode?
Oh, is it our next episode? Oh, man.
Spoiler alert.
Oh, man, I have...
It's okay, we recorded
Spoiler
them in
alert.
reverse. But anyways, yes, I get where you're
Regardless,
saying.
it's an enjoyable game. Whereas this one, I've done it twice now, and I don't have that same feeling of, oh, I'm excited, I would play this again in a heartbeat. I look at this and I go, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can have fun with it, be my guest.
And you've iterated it kind of throughout there wasn't enough changing, and that's where, again, as I say, theme is very important.
My opinion can also be swayed. If you were to go through and play all the different game modes and you found something that you just thought was absolutely awesome about this game, yeah, I'll for sure jump back in to give it another go.
But I don't know if I could ever pull you above a 6.
If you were to say, hey, let's play the standard head-to-head 25-card deck version of Pixel Tactics, I'll go, yeah,
I'm sick. Dishes.
I gotta walk the dog.
Mal's calling me. Sorry. Okay, so where were we on? We're in replayability, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Cost satisfaction now.
Jumping into cost satisfaction. Now, I got this game on sale from our local store. Regular, the deluxe goes for $69 as a reference.
Okay.
I got it for $30. The base core sets go for about $15, which is just the 25 card decks.
Yeah, that
identical decks. No frills. I think you get a couple HD units. You get a couple of these counters as well and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Brendan's showing the deluxe version. I don't know. Have you gone through some of the images that we kind of talked about?
Yeah.
Okay. So, general opinion on cost for me is there's quite a bit of value in this game if it's a theme that you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I was after playing it. I'm a 4. I'm pretty satisfied with my purchase of this game, and I enjoyed it for what its value was. I like these all-in-one box.
I just gotta throw a counter argument at you there. Is it a $69 game to you?
This version, no. Is it 15? Yes.
Yes, that's what I mean. At a 15, the standard deck to play it, just to say
the
you have it and
core
play it.
to get into this game is 15.
If it was, would you buy this game at $69?
No.
That's my big thing. So I have it at a 3 for that reason.
Okay.
Is because for $15, yeah, you can come in, you can get some decent gameplay. If it's for you, great. $15 is great. If it's not, it's $15, whatever. You had a chance. Your friend will take it from you. They'll enjoy it, whatever. But at that $69 level, you have to really, really enjoy the core $15 game to want to bump up to that. And since we're playing the deluxe version, I had to think of the aspect of, okay, this is a more expensive version, would it be worth it? And to me, it's not. And even to you, you said it's probably
at an
not
entry
worth it.
level that if I was, so for anybody listening that would think about, maybe I want to give it a try, I don't recommend going straight to the deluxe unless you can get it on a good sale. The deluxe is good. There's lots of cool things in the package, lots of extras that were nice. If you can get it at that $30 mark, then I think it's appropriate. And if not, I really think that you should just buy a basic pack, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the Mega Man 1, 2, or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Those are each one of those sets are standalone with their own cards, so you don't have to have one to play 3 or vice versa. So you can actually just pick up one of the ones that look the most interesting to you. There's a Legends, the Mega Man 1, 2, or 3. Pick it up, play it, see if you like the game, if you like the mechanics. I think every one of the 1 through 5 Legends, they added some sort of unique twist, but it's all the same kind of core gameplay.
Yeah.
See if you like the game and then go from there. I don't recommend jumping right into that $69, so we'll talk about that in the final bit, but for me it's a 4. You said it was a 3.
3, yeah.
I said it's 4 because like the game itself is, like, if I'm looking at just the entry level to see if you like, $15 is perfect.
Yeah.
So 4 for me. Final score, Brendan, I have it at a 36.
I think this might be my first failing grade. I have a 22.
22. I don't know if it's the first.
Duel Masters might have gotten it.
Yeah.
I don't know if Duel Masters for me actually dropped that low. It would have been really close.
But, okay. And like, you've kind of iterated why across the whole episode, why it fell flat for you. And you had a high expectation because people had compared it to a game that we had very passionately built. And we're like, okay, we really have to play this game. People keep telling it. So you had an expectation and it didn't hit it. I had an expectation of what I was explained to from a friend, and I think it perfectly fell to what he was after I've played it a bit more.
Okay.
And so it's a 36, which makes sense. But the final big one here, is it cash or trash? Mine's going to have a caveat.
Yeah.
I do not think that the deluxe version is
I have the deluxe.
cash.
No, I have the deluxe version as straight trash.
Yeah. Well,
at $69, this game, not even close for me.
If you had packs already, you had 1, 2, and you enjoyed it, and you're like, hey, should I get this? Yes. I think if you're a fan of the game already, deluxe is worth it. As an entry to the game, no. Stay away from it unless you can get it on sale. I think the best job for you to decide whether you're going to like this game or not is at that $15 mark. That is where I make it a cash, because it is a good game if it's something that interests you. I do think you need to give it a shot, though, before you go all in.
Yeah, that's why I'm not going to trash the $15 version, because every game deserves a chance to see what you can learn from it.
And I think that the $15 mark, like, I scored it at 36. That's a good mark. As somebody who is interested in the theme, who enjoyed the gameplay, I say it's worth it. Yes, very much worth it. Play it, try it, enjoy it. But you have to be interested in him for more than just, I want to try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have it as cash. I think it's worthwhile if it's something that interests you, definitely, especially at the entry level. Pick up one of those if you're, like I said, if Mega Man's more your thing. Maybe this game might have got a better review if Brendan had played a Mega Man version.
Maybe.
So try it, pick up whichever you want, let us know, and stay away from the deluxe unless you're sure.
Stay away from the deluxe unless you are sure. Thank you for tuning in to the DWMC podcast, a Paragon Professional Services production. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any comments or concerns about what you have heard, send us an email, contact@paragonstudiosmb.com. If you haven't already done so, please consider subscribing to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you consume your podcasts, and leave a comment with a 5-star review if you feel so inclined. For those of you watching on YouTube, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment below.